Hey there, Chase Kaufman here with Great Lanes Bowling News. On today's show, we talk with Len Nicholson, the host of the Phantom Radio Show, and he's the former director of lane maintenance for the PBA. We also have some tournaments to recap, and of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And a challenge for you, try to get someone you know to subscribe as well so we can get closer to reaching our goal of 500 subscribers. Let's get to it. So Len, you host the Phantom Radio Show. Tell me a little bit about how that got started.
I went to work after I left the PBA in 1995. I went to work for Kegel, and the first thing John Davis, who owned the company, said was, "We got to get more information out there. So why don't you start a podcast?" And I never did. I never knew anything about it, and I did. It's been nonstop ever since then. So we've done over 2,000 shows and had over 400 guests. So it's been pretty informative over the years.
So tell me some guests who you've had on. Have you had on some coaches, pros, and some others in the bowling world?
Yes. In fact, every one of the above. Every top coach, every top bowler, presidents of companies, whatever CEOs of almost every company we've had on there. So if you name a pro, I'll say, yeah, he's been on the show.
That's awesome. So what are some topics that you and your guests chat about?
Well, we poll our audience every 6 months or so. We got about 2,000 emails, addresses. So we contact them and say, what do you like about the show? Blah, blah, blah. And overall, the number one thing they want is instructions from pros. They want to improve their game. And ask Norm Duke, ask Danny Wiseman, ask Walter Ray, what should I work on? Blah, blah, blah. So they give their favorite tips. And then the second thing they like the most are tour stories. They like to hear human nature stuff about all the pros. And there's so many things they can talk about, but I can't talk about them all.
You know Dave Kowalski, he contacted you about our current high school postseason pattern, the Phantom pattern. How did that get its namesake?
Since I'm involved with Kegel and I was a lane man on the tour for over 20 years, he asked my advice on a type of a pattern that would be good for the participants. So, there's a million patterns that you come up with. So I turned him over to John Janowitz, who is number one guy in the world right now, as far as I'm concerned. I taught him everything I know, and everybody else that has any knowledge has taught him theirs. So he goes around the world now setting up patterns, and he dealt with the guy at your place, the lane man, and they've been working on a pattern, and they decided to call it the Phantom because that's my nickname. So
what do you think the most important facet is for a current high school bowler who may want to continue bowling after high school?
Wow. Obviously most people will go, they won't go pro or anything like that. But if they do, there's 4 basic things they need to know and accomplish. Number 1, learn how to be making good shots with a good physical game. Number 2, learn about lane conditions. Number 3, know your equipment. Every ball is not going to work on every pattern. And number 4, just do what all the greats do. Learn to have a good mental game.
And Len, here's an important question. What do you think the most important thing is right now to grow the sport of bowling?
Well, that's a great question, and it's got a simple answer. And there's a book written years ago by a guy named Thomas Paine called Common Sense. All right. I used to run I was a tournament director of the PBA Western region, and we'd get sponsors. The sponsors would come in on Sunday, we'd watch the finals. And if they saw guys wandering around, kicking the ball return, flipping the finger, these guys aren't going to want to sponsor you. They want their product to be held up in high esteem. So we've lost more sponsors by bad actors out there, and they don't know who's watching. We never know who's watching.
And then you have something in the works. It's the Phantom Radio Junior Bowling Program. What would that kind of entail?
What we want to do is pass along as much knowledge and information to the juniors. They need it more than anybody. And unbelievably, the kids nowadays are so much smarter than we were when we were kids. They know their ball reaction now. They know how to drill a ball. They know everything. It took us 10 years to learn how to drill a ball.
And lastly, is there anything you want the viewers of GLBN to know about the sport of bowling?
Right now, there's 2 things that are being emphasized in bowling. Number 1, junior bowling is coming back. I got a feeling about that because that was Saturday morning and all day long you bowled junior leagues. Mm-hmm. And also senior citizens are bowling more nowadays. So we got to keep them interested. We can't put a 45 gallons of oil down the middle because they leave a 4-pin, they can't make it because the ball slides 80 feet. So we got to make sure that we don't do the lanes for the pros when the seniors are going to bowl.
If you're interested in listening to Len's show and the many guests he has on his show, you can visit kegel.net/phantom to listen to his weekly podcast. We also have a signing to announce. Traver Montgomery has officially signed with Cleary University. Traver comes from North Branch High School and will be joining the Cougars to bowl collegiately. Congratulations, Traver. To stay on the college track, Concordia University is having an athlete recruiting event on January 19th. We've talked with coaches Doug Spicer and Rob Lancioni in the past, and they'll be attending the event where you'll be able to tour the campus, meet with advisors as well as the coaches, and even attend the student-athlete panel where recruits can ask any questions they may have. If this interests you, there will be a morning and an afternoon session. You can learn more about this by clicking the link in the description down below and filling out the form on the website. Now let's get into some recent tournament results as we inch towards the postseason. Back on December 10th, Imperial Lanes held the Cougar Classic, where after qualifying first, the Dakota boys advanced all the way to the finals to take on the 6-seed Lance Cruz North. The upset happened there, and the Crusaders knocked off the Cougars 416 to 396. In the girls division, the 1-seed Stevenson had the same fate as the Dakota boys. They qualified first and advanced all the way to the finals, but 3-seeded Dakota was there to take the win 310 to 288. At the 16th annual Davison High School Holiday Mixed Doubles Tournament, it was once again a Flushing-Kearsley final where the Hornets stung once again. Out of 94 teams, the senior duo of Howie Hammond and Sarah Ritchie defeated TJ McCartney and Hannah Reed to take home the title. In Sturgis at the Strike Zone Singles Tournament, Andrew Matz from Sturgis High School qualified first and ran the table. He won his first match 338 to 304, his next 382 to 273, and in the finals won 325 to 320 over the 7th seed from Niles, Preston Sharp. A week later, Imperial Lanes held the Baker's Dozen Team Championship on the 7th of January. On the boys' side, Eisenhower qualified first and used it to their advantage. They delivered 2-0 blows in the first 3 matches, and although it took 3 games in the final match, they got it done against Armada 2-1 to take the win. For the girls, Mason grabbed the 1 seed, but they were eliminated by South Lyon in the second round. South Lyon, the 8 seed, advanced all the way to the finals to take on Oxford. It was a very tight battle and it took 3 games, but it was the 6 seed Oxford grabbing the win. Now taking a look at a national tournament, Team USA trials just wrapped up, so let's give a shout out to some of our Michigan bowlers. Starting with the women, Jordan Richard finished 2nd overall, just 18 points behind first, and she earned herself another spot on Team USA. Casey Eaton finished 38th, Victoria Giardina in 40th, Caitlin Cavender in 47th, Kendall Hoffmeister finished 50th, Carly Van Dynen in 52nd, Cheyenne Washington finished 90th, Elizabeth Payer finished 94th, Emma Sikorsky in 107th, and Kendallin Wilson in 145th. And for the men, Andrew Anderson finished in 8th. He was also selected to Team USA. Perry Crowell IV finished in 27th, Alec Keplinger in 29th, Charles Brown finished 44th, Noah Samuels finished 61st, Mick Eaton in 73rd, Kyle Pringer in 83rd, Zach Gear in 104th, Ian Kane finished 106th, and Brian Eaton finished in 119th. Congrats to all the bowlers who went out to Vegas, and best of luck to Jordan and Andrew, who will be representing the country for another season. And now for this week's bowling brief, we get into the remaining tournaments for the month of January. On the Phantom Pattern on the 21st, the Shorey Team Baker's Dozen Varsity Challenge will take place at Shore Lanes. Then the next day, the Mark Voigt Memorial Tournament will also be on the Phantom Pattern at Spins Bowl in Canton. Also that day, the Lakeland Invitational Team Tournament will go at Century Bowl in Waterford. Then to cap off the month, the Troy Tri-County Invitational Tournament is at 5-Star Lanes on the 28th, and the Flushing Raider Jerry Doyle Doubles Invitational is at Colonial Lanes on the 29th. To check out these along with full tournament results, you can go to mhsibca.com. That's all we have for you today. A big thanks to Len for taking the time to chat with us here at GLBN. And in return, please go check out his weekly podcast, The Phantom Radio Show, by clicking the link in the description down below. Also, be sure to subscribe and share this channel with somebody else so they can subscribe too. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Chase Kaufman. Of course, go out and shoot some 10 pins.